What if the greatest loss you ever endured was a lie? What if the wilderness didn't claim them, but merely hid them? The wind bit at Tasha's exposed skin, carrying the scent of pine and an emptiness that tasted of regret. 12 Montana winters had come and gone since she'd last seen Terrence and Araya, since their voices had faded into the vast silence of the Rockies. Her fingers traced the cold steel of an antique locket, its warmth long gone, much like the vibrant energy Terrence once brought to their home, before his focus narrowed to the peaks and to Araya. Tasha remembered the shift, subtle as an avalanche's first crack. Her husband, always self-contained, slowly drawing their daughter into a world only they understood, leaving Tasha on the outside, a spectator to their shared ascent. Every sunrise she felt the phantom weight of Araya's small hand in hers, the echo of Terrence's quiet laugh. But the ache had changed, evolving into a hardened knot of doubt, a whisper that refused to be silenced, even as the world insisted on closure. Her phone buzzed, startling her. A friend, a link to a grainy video, a local festival miles away sent with a casual, "Thought you might like this, looks like fun." Tasha clicked, the poor resolution fighting against the weak signal. Faces blurred, then sharpened for a fraction of a second in the distant crowd. A man's profile, a young woman, laughing, her hair catching the sun. The sound dropped out of Tasha's ears. It was them, alive. A monstrous quiet settled over the world, crushing the wind, the pine, the beat of her own heart. But on a cold November evening, a grainy digital artifact, forwarded by a friend, would expose not a tragedy, but a calculated deception that stretched back over a decade. This wasn't a search for the lost. This was the terrifying hunt for a hidden truth. Terrence Walker emerged from the quiet valleys of rural Wyoming, a man shaped by solitude and the raw power of the land. He didn't just hike mountains, he understood them. Every crag, every shifting current of air, every hidden trail was a language he spoke fluently. His passion for high-altitude survival wasn't a hobby, it was his very essence. Tasha loved that about him at first. It made him unique, strong, a steady presence. Their early years were filled with the warmth of shared dreams, but as Araya grew, so did a subtle boundary within their home. Terrence began fostering a singular connection with their daughter, an unspoken alliance that often left Tasha on the periphery. It was in the way Araya would seek out her father's gaze before answering Tasha's questions, the shared glances across the dinner table that Tasha wasn't privy to. The problem wasn't a sudden storm, it was the slow, imperceptible drift. Terrence's answers to Tasha became clipped, his gaze distant, as if his mind was always mapping a distant terrain. When she questioned his growing preoccupation with remote peaks, he'd simply shrug, chalking it up to his mountain man quirks. Tasha, wanting to understand, accepted these explanations, dismissing the coldness that had begun to settle between them. She told herself it was just him, needing his space, but it was more. Araya, once a bright, bubbly child, became a quiet echo of her father. She spent hours poring over his mountaineering guides, whispering secrets only to Terrence. Her once cheerful journal entries turned cryptic. Tasha once glimpsed a page, words scrawled in Araya's youthful hand. "Freedom isn't just a place. It's a way out. Dad says we'll find ours." Tasha dismissed it as a teenager's yearning for independence. She didn't press. Then came the decision. A father-daughter bonding trip to a particularly challenging, isolated peak near Lake Tahoma. Terrence insisted on handling all gear, all routes, all communication. Tasha's fleeting unease, a knot in her stomach, she rationalized as typical parental worry. He was Terrence, he knew the mountains better than anyone. He would protect Araya. The morning of their departure was crisp, the air smelling of impending frost. Terrence, pack-strapped, Araya, a smaller version of him, standing by his side, backpack ready. They shared a private smile. As they waved goodbye, disappearing into the dense pine forests, Tasha felt a chill colder than the mountain air. It was the last time she would see the life she knew. She just didn't realize it was the last time she would see them. The initial alarm came quietly, a missed check-in, then a chilling silence. Terrence and Araya had vanished into the vast, unforgiving expanse of the Montana wilderness near Lake Tahoma. Their abandoned vehicle at the trailhead, perfectly packed gear inside, suggested no struggle, no accident, just emptiness. A massive search operation launched. Drones sliced the cold air, scent dogs tracked for days, rescue teams meticulously combed every treacherous trail and hidden crevice. Days bled into weeks. The mountains, silent and indifferent, yielded nothing. No trace, no sign. It was as if they had simply ceased to be. Detective Leo Miller, a methodical, by-the-book investigator, led the official inquiry. He cross-referenced every record, interviewed every contact, scoured financial trails. His initial assessment pointed to a tragic accident, a skilled mountaineer and his daughter caught by an unforeseen force of nature. But every lead led to a closed door. Every theory met with a blank wall. For Tasha, the absence became a physical weight. 12 years stretched, each day a new exercise in endurance. Her career crumbled. Her social connections withered. Her world, once full, now felt hollow. The grief was a constant companion, but beneath it, a seed of disbelief persisted. She refused to accept a void where her family had been. She became her own relentless seeker. Meticulously, she reviewed old maps, poring over Terrence's intricate hiking notes, rereading every news report, even haunting the edges of the very mountains that had consumed them. She sought solace not in acceptance, but in certainty. And in that solitary pursuit, anomalies surfaced. Minor details the authorities had dismissed. A single, custom-made climbing carabiner found miles off their declared route, too far from any logical path. A curious, small outflow of funds from Terrence's rarely used secret account just days before the trip. Nothing major, but unusual for a man so meticulous with money. And the memory of a casual comment, almost a throwaway line Terrence had uttered months prior. Sometimes the only way to truly begin fresh is to disappear completely. Tasha had dismissed it then, a philosophical musing. Now, these quiet inconsistencies became her relentless obsessions, threads she couldn't dismiss. Friends and family, tired of her enduring grief, gently urged her to move forward, to find peace, to accept the supposed truth. They saw her continued quest as unhealthy, a refusal to heal. But for Tasha, their pleas felt like gaslighting, their well-meaning advice a demand to deny her deepest intuition. She knew, with uncertainty that chilled her to the core, that something was profoundly wrong. Then, after 12 years of silence, a former colleague sent a casual link. A local news report from a small, unassuming town hundreds of miles away. A human interest segment about a community festival. Tasha clicked, a flicker of boredom, then curiosity. Tasha rewound the video. Her hand trembled as she zoomed in, pixel by agonizing pixel. It couldn't be. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The faces in the blurry frame were unmistakable. And in that moment, the true horror of her 12-year nightmare truly began to unfold. The blurry image on Tasha's phone screen wasn't a trick of light, nor a cruel mirage. It was a mirror reflecting 12 years of agonizing deception. Her hands shook as she sent the clip to Detective Leo Miller, a brief, urgent message. They're alive. Miller, cautious after years of dead ends, agreed to investigate, his skepticism battling Tasha's desperate certainty. The confirmation came slowly, painstakingly. Leads followed, databases cross-referenced. A new family, the Taylors, residing quietly in Harmony Creek, Oregon. Terrence, Araya, living under assumed names, building a new life. The truth struck Tasha with a force no mountain could deliver. Years of grief, of financial ruin, of a lost identity, all built on a deliberate, cruel abandonment. The phantom ache in her heart contorted into a burning, righteous fury. This wasn't grief. This was profound betrayal. Her tears were not for loss, but for a stolen past, a future extinguished by a calculated lie. The story of their disappearance began to take shape, a meticulously planned escape engineered by Terrence Walker. Terrence had always craved absolute freedom, an existence unburdened by societal expectations. His life with Tasha, the routine, the subtle demands of partnership, he had come to view it as an anchor, a mundane existence he desperately needed to cast off. His love for Araya, possessive and all-consuming, became the tool for his escape. For years, he groomed his daughter, painting grand narratives of adventure, a real life beyond the fake world Tasha inhabited. Araya's hidden journal entries, once dismissed as teenage dreams, now spoke volumes. Detailed plans for a life off-grid, a shared vision with her father, a desire for escape. His survival skills, once a harmless passion, became the blueprint for his disappearance. He'd carefully staged the abandoned vehicle, planted false trails with decoys, and used his extensive knowledge of remote mountain passages to vanish without a trace. Fake documents, prearranged safe houses, a new identity waiting, each step a chilling indicator of his precise planning. He hadn't just left, he had obliterated their past, leaving Tasha with nothing but a void. The inevitable confrontation, not a tearful reunion, but a cold, hollow encounter with strangers. Terrence, still guarded, unapologetic. Araya, a ghost of her former self, standing by her father's side, eyes vacant. Legally, they couldn't be charged with murder, but the phantom of a crime, a profound violation, forever stained their names. The court of public opinion would rage, but for Tasha, the verdict had already been delivered years ago, in the silence of the mountains. But the biggest question remained. How do you mourn a betrayal that was masquerading as a death? The truth, once a burning pursuit, settled into a cold, hard fact for Tasha. It stripped away years of pain, only to replace them with a different kind of wound. Yet in facing the ultimate betrayal, Tasha found a profound strength she never knew she possessed. Her journey from perceived victim to steadfast survivor was complete. She began to reclaim her life, piece by painstaking piece, free from the haunting presence of a lie. Terrence Walker, the master of escape, ultimately became a prisoner of his own making. His calculated decision to abandon his past was a chilling reflection of his personality, an extreme narcissism, an insatiable need for control, and a complete disregard for the emotional cost to others. His deep knowledge of survival, once admired, had warped into a profound capacity for cruelty. He was a man who preferred the stark, unyielding logic of the wilderness to the complex, messy bonds of human connection. And Araya, the daughter once so bright, now carried the heavy burden of her father's choices. Was she truly free in their hidden life, or had she merely exchanged one form of captivity for another? Her childhood, stolen by a parent's delusion, her innocence sacrificed on the altar of his desire for isolation. Her future remained shadowed by the extraordinary lie she participated in. This story isn't just about a man who disappeared, it's about the shadows people cast, the masks they wear, and the terrifying realization that sometimes, the ones you grieve the most, are simply choosing to live a lie. It's a stark reminder that true strength isn't just surviving tragedy, but surviving betrayal. Terrence Walker became a ghost in the mountains, but his betrayal echoes far beyond. If you were Tasha, how would you have confronted this living nightmare? Could you ever truly forgive? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this exploration into the darker side of human nature captivated you, be sure to like this video, subscribe to 24/7 True Crime Chronicles, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another chilling revelation.